My name is Kwok Pullan. I am from the Canberra School of Theology in Atlanta, United States.
My name is Esther Mombo. I'm from St. Paul's University, Limuru, Kenya.
And in this session, we are going to talk about, number 1, submission to the husband. Number 2, aliens and strangers and immigrants. And number 3, we are going to talk about hospitality. Esther, this first Peter is a very difficult book for some women because it talks about wives should be submissive to the husbands. How do you think about those passages?
I think the whole notion of submission can be interpreted in different places, in different ways and places, because it depends on who is reading it and interpreting it. With the advent of Christianity, the readings of Peter have been difficult for some people because the word submission sometimes is interpreted as being subservient, as just following on, and it has to do with power over. And that has been difficult for some women in terms of economic relations, in terms of social relations, but largely in terms of religious relations. Because sometimes when women are told, be submissive, they are also told to stay on even within violent relations. And when that is done, some women end up dying because of being told they need to be submissive, non-questioning, non-thinking. This becomes difficult, especially in a world that is changing. A lot of women in Africa have argued for mutuality rather than submission. At the same time, we do also know that in the text of Scripture, for example, Ephesians, men and women are told to submit to each other. So this hierarchical move serves the interests of those that are in power. And that is why most women find the text difficult, especially the way it is preached in a context that has been colonial. So that power relations become difficult for women, and they are exploited economically, they are exploited religiously. But the worst is when they are violated in the name of submission.
Yes. But isn't it true that 1 Peter also talks about husbands should give honor to the wives? What do you think that the husbands should do in order to give honor?
I think that passage, when it is read, the stress is on the submission, not on the honor. And I think both should be stressed. And in terms of honor, is to be able to share with the wives and to treat them with honor, with respect, and regard them as equal partners in a relationship.
And then the text is also talking about the whole community in suffering too. So that is why I think men and women, husbands and wives should help each other in such a difficult situation. Because 1 Peter is a letter addressing to those exiles and aliens in Asia Minor. And it is certainly important to remember those brothers and sisters in different parts of the world who are experiencing similar kinds of hostility, suspicion, and also sometimes persecuted, and because they are Christians. And in today's world, there are people who have to immigrate to other parts of the world because of economics, isn't it?
What do you think about this immigration and the challenges of the people that are immigrating? I tend to think that we are all immigrants, but those who come from the global south are always not very welcome to the north. how does that speak to us through the book of Peter?
In 1 Peter, the context was the Roman Empire, and Jewish people and even Gentiles were scattered throughout the empire. Today, because of globalization, as you know that, there are millions of migrants who have to leave their homeland to search for food, and especially women would be put in these very dangerous journeys. And once in a strange place, they experience similar things that the people in 1 Peter experienced. They were not accepted. They have linguistic or cultural differences. And today, especially, if you have a religious difference, and then you really can be alienated or marginalized as well.
The book of 1 Peter, how do you think we can talk about it in relation to these issues? Because some people read it, spiritualize it, and some people really don't see it as speaking to our context today.
Yes, that is very true, because it talks about Jesus suffered. That is why we modeled after Jesus' suffering. But the book is also talking about we are the chosen people. And even though we are strangers, we are alienated from the society, but we are the chosen people of God, and we should have hope in resurrection. Now that is all very good, but it can be, as you said, spiritualized. But the book also talks about hospitality. That is, we are the stewards of God's grace, and to share it, and to share the mercy and the compassion we have received from God with others who are less fortunate, or with others who are struggling.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because hospitality is a strong word in the book of Peter, and it is prefaced with the words that love covers a multitude of sins. When I think of hospitality, I realize that it is gendered, because in most communities it is actually women who end up being receptive, making sure that people are fed, because hospitality has to do with physical needs, spiritual needs, economic needs. I do realize that women take a lot of time to ensure that people are comfortable. But I also think that hospitality, when you are hospitable, you put yourself in a place of vulnerability.
Exactly.
Because it's like you're opening your space for those that to you would be strangers. I also realized that actually, in terms of church teaching, we are not judged by maybe the right doctrine. We are judged with the way we treat those in need.
I hope that since we live in a very globalized world, that we should learn about this message of we are all called to be stewards of God's grace. The last chapter also talks about leadership, talking about to be leader is to follow the example of Jesus as being the good shepherd, taking care of the lost sheep or knowing the sheep by name. I thought that is a wonderful image.
It's an interesting image, and I think in terms of church leadership, I think we need to be calling more people to be shepherds, and shepherds who know people by name, shepherds who don't exploit. And I think in the book of 1 Peter, that ending of calling us to be shepherds, I think it's one that is very strong. It's a very strong metaphor, because a shepherd is not a hireling. A shepherd is the one who cares. And I think if we take the metaphor of shepherding, it will actually enlarge our understanding in regard to patriarchy, in regard to immigration, in regard to hospitality, because that's the heart of Jesus. And I think 1 Peter ends very well, and I think we should all embrace it.
Yes,
because it will bring a very a society that is accepting, a society that will be inclusive. I like that metaphor.
Yes.
I really like it, because it dismantles this hierarchy, power and patriarchy. And for me, it's like, yes, this is what we should embrace.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Interesting. Thank you so much for watching and for listening to our discussion. Reading the book of Peter aloud and with others brings out interesting messages, and we hope that you can continue this discussion.
Thank you for watching our discussion. We hope that this Bible study will empower you to find new meanings in the Bible, and especially from 1 Peter, so that we will be strengthened in our Christian life and in our hope in the resurrected Jesus.